What's up, everybody? It is the Armchair Fantasy Show, and we are here tonight to sort of break down some of the cuts that we had yesterday. A lot of cuts from the NFL. We want to talk about who benefited. We got some last-minute redraft advice, and of course, we'll be doing our new segment, the Fantasy Roulette, where we'll put a bunch of topics into the wheel and spin, and let's see what comes up. And as always, we're going to do our Forgotten Fantasy Player and our Nonsense Draft. Let's go ahead and get it started.
Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
All right, welcome to episode 386 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. Follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Of course, we're live here every Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. And we're on Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. We're on all major podcast networks. And, of course, you can find it at GoingFor2.com as well. Ryan is here tonight. What's up, Ryan?
What's up, man? We're excited. We're a week away.
A week away.
Week and a day.
A week and a day. Yeah, next week's show, we're going to be previewing the Thursday night game. That's going to be pretty exciting stuff, man. Also joining us tonight for the first time, Derek. He is he's from DAT Sports, and you can follow him on Twitter at Derek Adam Thomas, and it is Derek DEREK. So if you're looking for him on Twitter, go find him over there. What's up, Derek?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on the show. I got some new content coming out hopefully soon, so look out for that. I'll probably tweet about it, but yeah, excited to be here with you guys. And I think I have a pretty tough Forgotten Fantasy Player for later. So
all right, I like to hear it. Yeah, we got a little stumped last week, so we were a little bit out of practice. We hadn't done it in a while, so we had a tough one last week. So with two tough ones in a row, let's see if you can pull it off. So real quick, talk about DAT Sports and what it is you do over there with your content.
Sure. Yeah. So I've kind of worked mostly in the, behind the scenes. Now I'm trying to get in front of the scenes a little bit more. So I work on video content. I'm guesting on some podcasts. And I have some, my own podcast project called Too Many Leagues coming out hopefully soon. Just kind of talking about mostly dynasty stuff. That's kind of mostly where my head's at these days, and being in too many fantasy leagues and what that's like. So that's
a nightmare.
Where you can find me now.
Yes.
I'm in an embarrassing number. I don't even want to say. I don't even want. It's pushing 50. It's pushing 50. Yeah, and that's just dynasty. And then we still have a week. There are more redrafts I can join, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's definitely way more than I have. I've cut back the last couple of years. I think I got up to as high as 25 at one point. I've got it down, I think, to only 15 now. So unless you're including the underdog best ball drafts, those I've got hundreds of those, but those don't count because once you're done drafting, you're done.
Right. I will say I do gravitate more toward managed best ball now, and you don't have to set a lineup for those, so that kind of saves me the Sunday tilt. But
sure.
Yeah.
All right. As always, today's show brought to you by Underdog. I just mentioned I have hundreds of best ball leagues over there. There's a week left before the season starts. Plenty of leagues, plenty of time to just still join some leagues. Of course, they still have their weekly best ball leagues as well. They got huge tournaments, private leagues, pick'ems that we do on the show during the season. We'll have the pick'em segment again this year for all major sports. Use our promo code GF2 and get bonus bucks up to $250. Simple as that. Just go get the app, use our promo code GF2, and you can start drafting. Let's go ahead and jump into our nonsense draft for tonight.
Attention, everyone. Let's mock draft.
All right, this one was inspired by my daughter going back to school. She's now in middle school. She's in 6th grade, and we are drafting tonight the worst slang words of all time. And Derek, the guest, always gets the one-on-one in this draft. So what you got for your worst slang word all time?
All right. I'm going to go with when people verbally say the word hashtag. It's just like very hashtag cringe. It's horrible. That's not really what it's meant to be used for. It's meant to like aggregate content, right? Like nobody can click on the words you're saying and find out every time somebody said the hashtag. It drove it. You don't hear it as much anymore. I feel like it was more of kind of a, 2010 to 2015 thing. But oh man, drove me crazy.
That's a good one. Yeah, and there's some other ones too that are out there, and I won't spoil it in case one of y'all pick them. But there's abbreviations that you type in that are now being pronounced as words that really bug me too. My daughter says it all the time, so it's frustrating. So great first choice there. All right, Ryan, you got the 102.
Every single thing a person under 20 says. And by 20, I mean 30. I'm gonna say with just calling something cringe. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Just describe you don't like something. It pisses me off. I hate it. I'm old man yellow sky. It's annoying. Just say what's wrong with it. Say it's stupid. Say it's annoying. Just it's dumb. Or say it's awkward. Like hate it. It sucks.
I love it. That's a good one. So I'm going to go here at number 3, and this is maybe not even a slang word that either of you have heard yet, because I know Derek has a 6-year-old. Ryan doesn't have any kids, but this is like a big thing right now in middle school, and the word is skibbity. I don't even know.
I don't know what that means. It's stupid.
I don't know what it means, but I've heard my daughter and her friends say it. That's skibbity. That's skibbity. No idea what it means. If it's good, if it's bad. I just hate the word. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know where it came from, how it originated, but definitely skibbity is high on my list right now. Maybe all time. Maybe it's not the number 1, but it's the one that's most recent in my head that I just can't seem to get rid of it. Skibbity is the word.
Rounder for using it.
Can you use it in a sentence?
I don't.
I just know that that's skibbity. Like whatever thing they're talking about, like that's skibbity. But I don't know if that's good or bad. So, and maybe it's the way you say it that it could be good or bad for all I know.
Kyron Williams returning punts, pretty skibbity.
Skibbity. There you go.
I don't know if it's good or bad. Is this a linear draft or
linear? Yep. So
linear.
You're up to 201 here.
All right, I'm gonna go. This is another one from like 2012 that I felt like was way overused. Epic, like
epic,
and people would say like things were like epic fails, and I would just cringe at it. Like, not everything can be epic. Your meal at Olive Garden was not epic.
I think Ryan has used that phrase on the show a couple times.
Well, I just used cringe, and then he immediately came back and tore it apart. So. That was one that really bugged me. Again, you don't hear it as much anymore, but
for sure. Epic is on the list as well. All right, Ryan, you got the 202 here.
You hate this one, and it's used in our business in this world a lot, and it's calling people the GOAT. It's run around way too often. There's 46 of them to 100 of them anytime. And you can't decide on one in any sport, anytime, anywhere. I hate it. It's another thing. It's just overused.
100%.
It enrages me.
Yeah, I hate when it's used like the GOAT of like
the GOAT debate. MJ or LeBron, the GOAT debate. Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Like stop. They're all great. They're all good in their own ways. One's good in something, one's good in the other. Stop it. There is no GOAT. Sports is a team sport. You can't have one who's just that much better. It's dumb. I hate it.
Agreed.
It's also used as like a past tense verb, like goated.
Goated, yes.
Yeah, it's like
he's goated. Yeah.
This was just the thing that triggered me today and just bring out my old man. It's like turning me into Jeff. It's aging me into Jeff.
All right. 203. I'm up here, and this was an older one as well, but I never even used it in a sentence. Like some of these we've talked about, I may have actually said once or twice. This is one I've never said. and it bothered me whenever I heard it. But when someone said something was on fleek, on fleek, I hated that. Again, I don't know what it meant. It's kind of like skibbity. I'm not really sure if on fleek was good or bad, but I hated to hear the words on fleek. Something
You
is
could have at
on.
least Urban Dictionary these things before you started using them.
Yeah.
It means cool, Jeff. Even I know that one.
I need to get definitions of all these for sure.
Did you look up skibbity while we were doing that one? Are
I
they
did, and
synonyms?
I did, and I still don't understand the meaning. It means it's described as brain rot or making you dumb.
So,
So it's definitely
like
negative, whatever it means.
Yeah,
it kind of describes
like
itself.
they call the Transformers movies skibbity
Oh.
because they're dumb. I assume.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Oh, we learned something. That's nice.
I hate children.
That's what we're here to do. We're here to teach them about slang.
Yeah. All right, my third pick is when people use the word literally, figuratively. It literally drives me crazy. It's just the word doesn't mean anything anymore, and this is like a very common one. I probably did it myself today, and you just hear people throw that word. The word has like lost all of its original meaning.
Yeah, like they were literally on fire. No, they really weren't literally on fire.
Definitely not. So yeah, that's my third pick.
Oh, here's Los chiming in. He's got kids too. So skibbity means a bad thing, and sigma, which my daughter also says, means good. I guess it's the opposite of skibbity. And my daughter also says "what the sigma" all the time as well. So I don't I don't know. So
oh my God, I hate bars.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, you're at the 302.
That just gave me brain rot, and I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God, this one I hate a lot, and Jeff uses this one all the time.
Uh-oh.
And it's the term cap. I hate it.
So to be fair, I don't use it in a conversation. We have a segment called Fact or Cap, and Ryan gives me shit for it all the time because I was trying to capitalize on the trend from TikTok, and Fact or Cap was a big thing. So to be fair, I don't use it.
We can't be using that. They're going to think we're soft in high key, not some high key, not dank. I don't know.
I think if we were doing a slang draft of words we like, I think cap may have been a second or third round. It's a sleeper slang for me. I don't hate it.
It's funny, when I first did the drop, I outsourced my drops. I sent it to somebody, he does it for me, and he's an older gentleman too. And when he sent it back, it actually said fact or crap, because he thought I just typoed cap. He's like, hey, that doesn't mean anything. So he put in the word crap. And I was like, no, it actually is cap. So can you redo the drop for me? All right, I'll round off the last round here, and I'm going to go with the word simp. Friends of mine use it all the time. They use it in a sarcastic way. You know, you're simping on this, you're simping on that. Simp is a word that I will never put in my vocabulary. I don't even type it, but that was one that definitely bothered me.
All right. I understand that one.
Yeah, simp is definitely I again, not sure the origin of some of these slang words. So, all right. So if y'all were here last week, we started a new segment. I need to get a drop for it, but we're doing what we call Fantasy Roulette. Essentially, instead of doing topics in an order that we all kind of follow, we do it in a wheel. We basically spin the wheel. I think tonight we have 18 different topics. We may or may not get to all of them, and we have no idea which order they're going to appear. So let's go ahead and
Did you speed the wheel up?
I think I did. We'll find out in a minute here. All right, let's go ahead and hit the wheel and see what we get for our first topic.
You just put me in the mood tonight with this one, Jeff.
All right, so this one's not even necessarily football related, but I'm going to make it football related. This is from Generational Hater on Twitter. And the question he posed on there was, without saying Ryan Leaf, who is the biggest overall number one bust? But I'm going to go with a fantasy related, not necessarily the number one overall, but just a first round high pick that was a bust for fantasy football at any point. It could be 10 years ago, it could be last year. But Ryan, I'll go to you first on this one. Give me one of your biggest first round busts for fantasy football.
Oh, fantasy football. I thought you meant overall draft. I'll say Jamarcus Russell.
For fantasy football, if you could think of one that's a bust.
Biggest bust. I mean, personally, for me, it was the year Adrian Peterson whooped this kid, and he was one overall in every draft. But
Oh
I would
yeah,
say like that's not the right meaning.
yeah.
Oh
It was
God,
definitely a bust for sure.
Yeah. Busted. Yeah, no, that
Busted.
was not good.
Oh, I mean, if we went like rookie fantasy wise, there's so many. That's like what it goes like N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, that was brutal. He wasn't a first round pick, but I'll
I
take
mean,
that one.
he,
'Cause
he I
he
mean,
was
in
a
his
first round
rookie draft,
dynasty
he
pick.
was.
Yeah, he was a
He
first
was
round
rookie
dynasty
draft
pick.
first round pick, and he was viewed as the next Calvin Johnson, Des Bryant hybrid.
That's a good pick because my love hate with N'Keal Harry because I loved him and then he burned me and now I hate him and I can never live him down. What about you,
Well,
Derek?
he was very close.
You got a bust in mind here for a fantasy player?
I could be misremembering, but I feel like there was a year Eddie Lacy was going in the first round of fantasy drafts.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
And
there
then
was.
yeah,
He became
it,
Fat
it,
Lacy.
like was out of the league and within like 18 months after that.
Yeah. So funny story about that is when I first started doing content way back in 2015, I did a ranking. One of the first things I ever published was my running back rankings. It was my 2 early running back rankings. And I had Eddie Lacy as the number 1 overall pick. And I got put onto a podcast to talk about it. So not only did I put my first thing published was Eddie Lacy as the number 1 overall pick. My first podcast appearance was talking about Eddie Lacy, who then went on to have his Fat Lacy season. It was absolutely terrible. So it was a great
That
way
is
to start my
amazing.
career in this business.
That's
So,
perfect. So he wasn't a bust for you.
No wonder we haven't made it onto Barstool yet.
yeah, exactly.
What about Trent Richardson? He just kind of popped into my head.
Yes, that's a good
He
one.
went super high for a
He's
while
like-
too. And
I want to say he was like third overall
Yeah.
the year he got traded. I feel like he was the top 5 fantasy.
Yep.
he was going high in fantasy.
Yeah.
He definitely was.
In Dynasty, if you were doing a Dynasty startup like 4 years ago, Juju Smith-Schuster was going
Super high.
very high.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
And
pumped up by Ryan McDowell as well because he was all over Juju as well. Yeah, so
Well, he's a Pittsburgher, so that's understandable.
my first round bust is related to the Scott Fish Bowl, which is obviously super flex. I drafted in the first round Andrew Luck, who then promptly retired a month later. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a bust per se. He just didn't play again. He just retired out of nowhere and ruined my Scott Fish Bowl team. And I'm sure he ruined a lot of other super flex leagues that, they had invested heavily in Andrew Luck, and then he just retired on them.
I mean, you could say he ruined the Colts too.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very weird time.
That's a good one. And then who was your first round pick in Scott Fish Bowl this year? I can't remember.
I'm sure. So I had to pick a kicker in the first round. Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. Jeff and I are in the same Scott Fish Bowl league this year. So I sort of got to benefit from that. I feel like.
Yeah. It's funny too, because I'm looking at my team like, why is my team so terrible? I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot. I had to waste my first round pick on a kicker. All right, let's go back to the wheel. All right, this one is from Chris O'Brien on Twitter. He's essentially just talking about DK Metcalf. He says DK Metcalf leads the NFL in end zone targets since entering the league in 2019. These are his ranks by season, going from the earliest from last year. He was 4th and 1st, then 3rd. In 2020, he was 6th, and then his rookie season, he was 1st. So I wanted to just kind of talk about DK Metcalf in general. We'll go to you first, Derek, on this one. What are your thoughts on DK Metcalf? He's been kind of hovering around that wide receiver 1, like wide receiver 2, sort of at the turn there. How do you feel about Metcalf just this year in general and just going forward?
Sure. I mean, he's one of my favorite players. I draft him a lot, and you see him fall a lot in drafts because I think people are worried because he's kind of a boomer bust guy. A lot of times last year he really boomed with like a 3 touchdown game, but it was at a point in the season where people were starting to bench him because he had 4 or 5 weeks where he hadn't really done a whole lot. He's in a crowded wide receiver room there. Tyler Lockett's still around, still working out of the slot, still getting a lot of targets. you have to kind of expect Jackson Smith and Jigba to kind of take a next step this year. So those are things to think about. Geno Smith, who knows, new regime on offense. How will that affect him throwing the ball? So there is risk there with DK Metcalf for sure. But I really kind of believe in the talent with him and think he is like a true Sigma wide receiver and can kind of emerge. He could easily pop into the top 10 if he can just get a little more consistent and capitalize on these end zone targets.
Yeah. What's funny is I'm looking at the list that he has up here, 3rd and 6th in 2020 and 2021. And those were the 2 years he had his most touchdowns. He had 10 in 2020 and 12 in 2021. I think touchdowns is where he's going to earn his money, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on Metcalf?
I love DK Metcalf, and he at wide receiver 19 in PPR right now. I think he's a super value. I think he's a lot more consistent than some guys above him. I don't know if he's going to go past maybe that 8 to 10 range for fantasy, because I think the quarterback kind of hampers his ceiling. But he's a really good player. We're drafting players ahead of him who are in murkier situations and aren't as talented. Love DK Metcalf, and I draft him everywhere.
Yeah, and end zone targets, I know like end zone, like touchdowns is not a sticky stat, but end zone targets consistently being towards the top is more of a sticky stat. And eventually those turn into touchdowns. So, double-digit touchdowns at a 1,000-yard season is not without his realm of possibility. And you're getting them, like Ryan said, wide receiver 19 is pretty late.
And his yards per reception are always high. He's a great deep threat. He's the complete package, man. Like, he's been over 15 yards reception 3 of his 5 years. Like, he's a legit deep threat. Last year was his highest.
Yeah, I don't understand where the hate comes from. Maybe because they expected him to be like, top 5 receiver, in his career. But I think, the fact that you're getting him so late, he is a super value right now. And I think I have him in a ton of best ball leagues this year. So
he's great. He's great in best ball. And I think people like, it's the boomer bust, you gotta live with the weeks where he's wide receiver 35, and then you get the weeks where he is wide receiver 1.
Yep.
And that's just how he is, and that's how a lot of the guys in that range are.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's get
we
this.
We love Devonta Smith, and he's the same thing. And his community, like there's no difference. I mean, body style, but yes, like what they produce on a week-to-week basis, it's the same.
Right.
Yep. All right, David Gutierrez, I can't never pronounce his name correctly. He is just putting out a tweet here saying people are going to regret drafting, and he named a bunch of players here. I'll just list them real quick. Chris Olave, Michael Pittman, James Cook, Najee Harris, Zamir White, Keenan Allen, Christian Watson, Jamison Williams, and Devin Singletary. So I'm going to ask you one, Ryan, are any of those players that you think someone will regret drafting? And then are there any players that you feel are going to be regrets in the season?
Out of these ones, who had regret drafting?
Yeah.
I don't love Najee Harris. I think Keenan Allen's kind of washed. Christian Watson's a big one for me. I don't like. I'm a little scared of Olave. I'm not going to say it's not bust, but anyway, I performs ADP at wide receiver 12. I think that situation is kind of bad. I completely disagree with Zamir White, though. Like, as I'm the complete opposite, I think he can be a top 10 running back this year. Wow. I said on my show last night, check out Rookie Big Board, Fantasy Big Board podcast, when you hear about that. But who do I think is going to be a bust this year and who I'm not drafting? I'm not drafting Puka at wide receiver 8. I am not drafting Kyron Williams, which I think the world's starting to come down on him. Thank God, and come into their senses. I'm getting a little bit nervous about Rashad White. The whole Miami backfield scares me. And I think I'm out on Travis Kelce this year as well. All
right. What about you, Derek? Any of these guys on the list that you agree with, disagree with, and then do you have any of your own to add?
Yeah, so I think I agree. I'm pretty worried about Keenan Allen at this point. There are a lot of bad signs pointing to him not being as effective. I mean, last year may have been his best season, and so it is weird to be like worried about him now. But lot of red flags there. Christian Watson, it's the injuries, unfortunately. Yep. I mean, he has all the athletic ability in the world, but can he stay on the field? He has 3 other wide receivers on his team that are about the same level. So I don't know if he's going to be able to separate from those guys. And he's going in a range where you kind of want him to be the wide receiver 1 on that team. And then I actually completely disagree with the Najee Harris take. I mean, Najee finished running back 20 last year. He's going running back 24 this year. And Jalen Warren's a little banged up. They say he's going to be okay for week 1, but who knows? Arthur Smith has done, I mean, he made Tyler Algier relevant a couple years ago. And Najee Harris was 3rd in yards after contact last year behind only CMC and Derrick Henry. He just is able to grind out yards, and he's going to get goal line carries. I actually like Najee quite a bit and getting a lot of them this year. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe he's right. But that's kind of where I am on Najee. And then guys I'm not really drafting at all. We're actually, you just named a few, but Kyron Williams, and unfortunately, I'm not getting any of him because, his ADP is like RB7, and I probably value him more 15, 16. So it's tough times for Kyron.
Yeah, so as far as me, I agree with most of what y'all said. I agree that Najee Harris will be a good player this year. I like Najee a lot for some of the reasons that you mentioned. Zamir White, I think at the cost you're getting him is definitely worth it. I don't know if I go so far as saying he has top 10 upside, but he definitely could be in the high-end RB2 range for sure. There's no one in that backfield to give him any competition. Jameson Williams, again, you're getting him so cheap. I don't know if you're ever going to regret drafting someone that late. And then Michael Pittman, I disagree with. I like Michael Pittman a lot. I actually have him in my top 12 wide receivers this year. I know that they're, going to be a running team, and they have a quarterback switch, where Pittman last year was with Gardner Minshew, and they're going to have, of course, Anthony Richardson under center this year. But I still think he gets hyper targeted in this offense, and he's an excellent receiver, and I think he'll be perfectly fine. So those are the ones I disagree with. And I hate to pile on to the Kyron Williams hate, but I'm also out on Kyron Williams. I'm also out on Rashad White. And Sam Laporta for tight end. Now, I've always been a wait on tight end guy, but if I was going to be one of those pay up for tight end, I'm not paying 2nd round draft capital for a tight end. I will wait a round later and get Trey McBride. If I'm going to be paying up for tight end, I prefer to wait. But if I was going to pay up, I would take Trey McBride a round later than Laporta.
Yeah, you get Mark Andrews around later too, which
prefer Mark Andrews for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But that Josh Jacobs thing, I'm not Josh Jacobs, I'm sorry, with the Zamir White. Josh Jacobs had 226 carries plus 64 targets in 13 games last year. 54 targets. He had 330 rush attempts, 64 targets the year before. And last year, while he was getting all those carries and targets his way, he was averaging a full yard less per carry than Zamir White did. He still had over 100 touches.
Yes.
They're going to pound the ball. He's going to get the ball time. That's why I think he's going to be top 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely within the realm of possibilities. I don't know if I could come out and say it, but I love it. I love the bold take there. All right, another one from Chris O'Brien. We kind of talked about this guy a little bit last week, but I found this an interesting stat. So only 2 receivers finished with more yards after the catch than Rashee Rice did. Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb. And now they have, the deep threat with Xavier Worthy, potentially going to have that deep threat with Hollywood Brown. He comes back as well. So opening up even more space for Rashee Rice to get the yards after the catch. I know we talked a little bit about him, Ryan, last week, so I'll go to Derek first. What are your thoughts on Rashee Rice now that we're pretty sure that there's going to be no legal issues, no suspension? How do you feel about him this season?
I think he's going to slide into the same role he had last year. I don't think a lot changes for him, in that offense in terms of target competition. He doesn't really play the same role that Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy do. They had Kelsey last year, obviously. Juju Smith-Schuster's on the team now. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to affect him much. I like Rice a lot. It's more of I'm not going to reach for him in a draft, but if he's kind of falling right around where he is in ADP, maybe a little after for me. He's a great guy to get, especially in, he's going to get a lot of volume in that offense as we saw last year. And he came on down the stretch a lot. And in the first 7-8 games of the season, he wasn't really contributing that much. So his numbers were really kind of latter half of last season. Assuming he can stay out of trouble, avoid suspension for, early this year. Yeah, I think he's a great pick. I didn't know about the stat. I wonder if this is yards after catch per reception, or if it's just total.
Yeah, that's a good question, because he just had more yards after the catch. Because I'm assuming that was total yards after the catch. So I don't know how that.
Yeah, I'm looking it up now. It looks like he actually tied with Tyreek Hill, and then Amon-Ra and CD had just barely more, which is crazy when you consider
the volume that those guys.
How many more yards? Yeah, how many more yards like CD had? That's wild.
That is crazy. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Rashi? I know we talked about him last week a little bit. His ADP has risen. I kind of looked at it on Sleeper. It's come up since the legal issues have gone away. I don't have it in front of me. I should have had it ready here.
I think I have it. It looks like wide receiver 38 on Sleeper, which is pretty good. He's 26 on RT Sports.
I like him in that mid-30s, early 30s, like 33 on. I'm very happy with him. Before that, there's a lot of guys who are in less murky situations. While he does definitely play a different role than those guys, I think he's the red zone threat. There's a lot of pass catchers in Kansas City. We went from like him, Kelsey, and who's who is Scrubs to a pretty talented wide receiver room. So I don't know where the targets are all gonna go. So that worries me a little bit. But as a wide receiver 3, I'm cool with him.
Yeah.
Can I ask would you rather have Rice or Pickens if you're picking Pickens? Yeah, Pickens is going. He's going like 5 before. Yeah. What about one more, McLaurin or Rice?
McLaurin.
Yeah, I'm taking McLaurin. But you're also talking to me and Ryan that have talked up Pickens and McLaurin all off season. Yeah. So two guys that we love on this podcast.
They're just really close in ADP. So
McLaurin has 5 straight 1,000-yard seasons with 11 quarterbacks. I can't remember the stat.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's crazy. He's just consistent. This is the most talented pass thrower he's had so far in his career.
Yep, agreed. All right, let's hit it again. All right, this one is from Dynasty Dad, and he says rookie insurance lottery running backs, and he lists Jalen Wright, Trey Benson, Blake Corum. Says one of these 3 will break out and be an RB1 because of injury. And I want to ask you, gentlemen, let's assume that there's not an injury. Which of these 3 guys would you prefer to take a late round flyer on? The 3 were Jalen Wright, Trey Benson, or Blake Corum. I'll go to you first, Ryan.
Said not an injury?
If it's not an injury, if I guess my question is, who are you taking a chance on, knowing that the starter is still there, but you think could have value towards the end of the season?
Honestly, probably Trey Benson out of those 3, just for the fact he's behind an older running back who has a lot of carries in his career and might wear down the stretch. Also, that offense should be pretty wide open for just different weapons, because outside of Marvin Harrison and McBride, there's not much. So I think you can find ways on the field. I think Miami's too crowded. Either Blake Corum is really tempting as well.
Yeah, there's 3 really good backup running backs for sure.
I would, if I was talking about his insurance, I would leave Benson and Corum and replace Wright with Braylon Allen. But
yeah, that's a good call. Braylon Allen should be in that mix too, with Breece Hall and being the only guy in front of him for sure. What about you, Derek? What are your thoughts on these 3?
Well, the Blake Corum's really just kind of teeing us up to trash Kyron Williams more tonight. Yeah. I don't know. Poor Kyron. But I do feel like he might. My thing with the Rams is they seem to be really fickle. Like McVay, for whatever reason, in his time with the Rams, has been really fickle with his running backs. I mean, I don't know the full story what happened with Cam Akers, but he went from kind of being the guy, the RB1, and then within a week he was off the team. So I in terms of talent, I think I like Benson the most. And what's interesting about these 3 guys, I think there are 3 good guys to mention, is they're all playing behind guys who missed time last year. Connor missed, I think he went on a short-term IR, missed 4 weeks. Kyron missed a couple games at least. And then, I think Mostert and A-Chain both missed games. So there is a very good chance that each of these guys are going to make an impact this year in fantasy. If we don't know when, obviously, but so I think they're all good stashes. For me, it'd probably go Corum, Benson, Wright. And just because I feel like that's where the opportunity is going to come. Yeah.
So Ryan went Benson, you went Corum, and I'm going to go with Jalen Wright because you mentioned there's 2 guys in Miami that are ahead of him, both of which dealt with injuries. And if you look at the Miami breakdown in their backfield, even when A-Chain or Mostert were hurt, they still split carries with somebody else. That third running back stepped in and still split 50-50. So Jalen Wright essentially has 2 different running backs that are injury prone that could be hurt to give him the opportunity to step in and get, half of that workload. And we know that offense is explosive, and Jalen Wright's got speed just like the rest of that offense has. And I think his opportunity could be a little bit, as far as higher chances of getting the opportunity, could be there for sure. I think all 3 guys are definitely great late round purchases because of that, because of the situations that are in front of them. Kyron Williams, everyone's been poo-pooing him all off season. Everyone's been kind of comparing Blake Corum, saying he basically is Kyron Williams, and they drafted him to take his place because he can't stay healthy. So. What was that?
That's the same person.
That's the Spider-Man meme. They're just pointing at each other.
Exactly.
It's literally, yeah. 100%.
And I'm glad you mentioned Braylon Allen because I think he belongs in this category. I think he has a lot of talent, and I think they're going to probably split him with Breece. So even when Breece is there,
they
could have value.
Keep that man healthy.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, let's get to the next topic. All right, so this one's just a fun one here. I'm so over blank. And you just tell me what it is in the fantasy space right now that you are so over. And I'll go to you first, Derek.
So I almost brought this up when we were talking about slang, but I'm so over referring to the number of shares of a player you have. Whenever I say it, we all say it, but whenever I hear like I have 5 shares of Blake Corum this year, it's just like, I don't know, for some reason it just really it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. It's like we're talking, it's like we're at the New York Stock Exchange talking about human beings. I don't know. It's just
I blame fantasy football crypto bros for that.
Yeah,
that's probably right.
It's DFS Twitter. I blame that.
Yeah, I'm part of that, and I agree. It's 100%. That's where it came from. That's when I first started hearing that. Was the how many shares you have or how much ownership.
DFS and basketball people.
Yep.
And they talk like it's like your portfolio, like all your leagues are it's a natural way to talk about it. It makes sense. Like I'm not saying it's not accurate. It's just like for whatever reason, kind of I'm over it, I guess.
Yep. Agreed. What about you, Ryan?
Oh,
Ryan could probably make a whole show on this one. I think Ryan could probably go all night.
This one's near and dear to me because this one happened to me today, and it's the most aggravating thing in the world. So when somebody sends you a dog shit trade and then tries to explain to you why you should make that trade by disparaging the players that they're trying to trade for.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, trade me Rashee Rice. He's going to miss time anyways. He's not that good. Here, take these 3 scrub players who aren't going to play because they'll give you more value. And I'm like, why are you trading for him? If he's so bad, why are you trading for him? You're an idiot. Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, my God. That's so aggravating.
Yep.
I also love when those messages are accompanied by a trade calculator screenshot.
Yeah.
That makes me so mad.
Like, yeah, that's a fun one.
Yep. All right. So I purposely wore this hat tonight because I am so over this Brandon Ayuk drama. Please, just sign or get traded, do something. Like every day, it's like, Brandon Ayuk's at training camp today and he's, walking around on the sideline. And then it's like, oh, he's at Steelers practice and he's close to signing. It's like every day it's a different thing. My friend who's Niners fan sent me another one tonight. Like that Ayuk is close to signing. I'm not going to believe anything until he's actually signed and on the team or traded, because it is so much back and forth. I am so over it. I can't remember the last time there's been this much drama over a player for the length of time that we've had this drama. Is he going to be traded? Is he not going to be traded?
You don't even have Trent Williams signed over there, man.
I know it's not. I was talking to Derek pre-show about the 49ers and how we just missed last year winning the Super Bowl, and I was thinking to myself, we couldn't be any better than we were last year, and we couldn't win it. And then this year we got all these issues off season stuff. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a tough year for us. But yeah, this Brandon Ayuk thing needs to hurry up and just end already. I'm over it. We're a week away from the season. He hasn't played a single snap of practice yet. Even if he comes back to our team, he's not going to be 100% ready to go in week 1 or week 2. So I just want it to be over with for sure.
Yeah, I remember like a week ago, he was wearing a 49ers shirt at practice, and people thought that meant contract was signed. It was done.
Yep. There was even the video of him dapping up Mike Shanahan or Kyle Shanahan on the sideline. They're like, oh, he's going to sign. They signed the contract, and that was like a month ago, and they're still not signed.
Yeah,
you guys will put a $200 million Wi-Fi, but we'll sign Trent Williams. And I love to see it.
Yeah, that story was going around today as well. Yeah, I'm so over it. I just want it to end already. All right, this one is from Scott Simpson at Nimble with Numbers. Which mid-round wide receiver 2 are you drafting this season? He lists 4 guys here: Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, or Chris Godwin. I'll go to you first, Ryan.
T. Higgins is probably top one. I think he has the high ceiling this year. Just for the fact Jamar Chase, speaking of wide receivers who aren't showing up and giving issues, Jamar Chase showed up at camp 15 minutes late in street clothes on days going to be practicing today, and we're a week out from the season.
Yeah,
it ain't looking great there. And if he's not there, T. Higgins is going to have a huge year. And if he is there, he's still going to have 8 touchdowns and 900 yards and be fantasy viable. I think Chris Godwin's the safest option of the group. Like, he's a lock for 120 targets and like 900 to 1,100 yards. The other 2 scare me between injuries, crowded wide receiving rooms, but I love those 2.
Yeah,
in those mid rounds.
What about you, Derek? Where do you fall on these 4 guys?
I do agree. I mean, that's a great take on Higgins. Like, he's at best the number 1 option in a good offense, and at worst, he's the number 2 option in a good offense. And you can say the same about Godwin, except I wouldn't say that offense is quite as good. I am drafting a ton of Stephon Diggs. He just seems to be plummeting in drafts. I think a lot of people are worried about that crowded wide receiver room, and I feel like I'm getting him at a good value, so I'm ending up with a lot of him. I think he's still got. I think his game kind of ages better than some other wide receivers, just because he's such a crisp route runner, and I think that's gonna get him targets in that offense, regardless of the target competition. It may just not be super consistent, and you may kind of have to deal with the lower output weeks and mixed in. But yeah, I mean, I'm still ending up with a lot of them. I think that offense is really good. I think CJ Stroud's really good. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be able to win targets just with his talent.
Yeah, I think, looking at this from an at cost perspective, I think Stephon Diggs could be the right answer, because he's saying receiver 2, but is he really receiver 2? He's being drafted as the receiver 3. He's behind Tank Dell and Nico Collins, so he's going much later than the T. Higgins.
He's at wide receiver 20 right now in PPR.
Is he really being drafted that high?
I'm seeing
on Fantasy Pros, he's listed as wide receiver 20 for the PPR for the ADP.
Wow.
Yeah, which it surprises me, because that hasn't been my experience.
Not mine either.
But yeah.
You're also in a lot of probably not as like casual leagues though either.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, even like sleeper, if you just look at the sleeper ADP, it's 17, which I'm not touching him at 17. But
it's insane.
That is crazy. So that just throws my narrative out the window then, because that is way too high. So essentially, they're saying that the Texans have 3 top 17 receivers. I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm gonna pass on that one. I will say T. Higgins does have the highest ceiling. T. Higgins, even if Jamar Chase is there, has shown in the past that they can coexist. It's a good offense, great quarterback. As long as they're all healthy, I think they'll be fine. So I think he's the one I would want to draft out of those guys. Chris Godwin, like you mentioned, Ryan, probably the safest. And Keenan Allen, I'm not touching this year. I love Keenan Allen. I'm the biggest Keenan Allen supporter. On my DFS podcast, we call it a Keenan Allen copy paste because each show sheet we just copy paste him into the next week. We use them every single week. But unfortunately, I think the situation with his crowded receiver core, all this negativity coming out of the camp, the fact that he showed up to camp out of shape, supposedly of 235 pounds is what I was told. So yeah, I'm avoiding him 100%. So T. Higgins is the one I want if we're just doing it in a vacuum with no ADP attached to it. And Stephon Diggs, I thought was going late, and maybe he's just going late in the drafts that I've been doing, but receiver 17 is way, way too high for me.
Godwin's got 1,000 yards in 4 of his last 5 seasons, by the way.
And he's going the latest of those 4, I think.
And he's the latest of those 4.
Yeah,
Yep.
he might be the at-cost guy.
Yeah, that's a good call. All right. We had to talk about this one, right? CeeDee Lamb signs his huge extension. I know it's a little bit older news, but we hadn't talked about it yet on the podcast. And really, what does that mean for the Dallas Cowboys and, the offensive pieces there? And then what do you think it does with the, Jamar Chase and the Brandon Ayuk's of the world that are wanting these contracts? You think these guys see this contract and want that kind of money, or how do you think this is going to go, Derek?
Well, I feel like it kind of sets the number for Chase, right? Like he's going to want to be in that Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb range, and
100%.
So get to work, Bengals, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I think it was very funny to me that literally the second that he wouldn't have to report to training camp, that's when the deal got done. That feels very intentional. I hope he's been able to stay in shape, stay conditioned, but I think it's wheels up for CD going into this year, and that it's a huge year for Dallas. They don't have Dak under contract after this year. They don't have Mike McCarthy under contract after this year. So this could be kind of the last ride with these guys, and we'll see how it goes. I don't expect the same kind of they're probably going to see some regression on that offense just because you go back and you look at the numbers and they're unreal what Dak and CD were able to do last year. Yep. Dak had like 5 straight weeks where he was a top 3 quarterback. It was just out of this world what they put together last year. But it's good news. I'm happy that he got his bag, to use some slang. Yeah, I think it's good they got the deal done.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
Love to see it. Drive that price up on Chase. But I mean, it's going to be business as usual. I don't know if he's going to get 181 targets, but he's going to be in that role for wide receiver 1 or the wide receiver 1. There's not a ton. They've lost a little bit of talent on that offense. I don't know how good Dallas is going to be. Could be more targets for him, or more double coverage, one or the other. Brandon Cooks is really healthy. Really, it's him and Jake Ferguson. That's kind of it.
Yeah.
So Dallas is a little scary season, but I think CeeDee Lamb's still good enough to get his.
Their biggest losses were on the offensive line, and that's going to affect how quickly the offense is going to have to move. But they got Zeke now. He's probably their best pass blocker on the team. So,
yeah.
Oh God, that's so gross.
Yeah,
you got Zeke and Dalvin Cook out there, baby.
Yes.
It's too many cooks. You got Brandon and Dalvin. It's just
too many cooks. That's a popular fantasy football name right there.
Yeah. and then Zeke's celebration's always been
oh right.
Yeah, there you go.
They're making the food for him.
They got a theme going there for sure.
Lock it down.
Yeah, I saw a tweet that if you take CeeDee Lamb off of this team, that they could be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. And
easy.
Yeah,
it still might be.
You're right. It could still be that way for sure.
You can still be bad, even with a great player.
Yep. Yeah. Ask the Detroit Lions. They've made a history out of that. All right, let's hit another topic here. All right, this one's from Roto Baller NFL. Which running backs are you stashing at the back end of your benches this season? So we talked about a couple of them already, but are there any that we haven't talked about yet, Derek, that you like?
I don't know if it's back end. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll say it. Kamani Vidal. It's kind of been a wild off season with him, where I feel like he got hyped way up around the time we were doing like rookie drafts for Dynasty, and then kind of going into training camp, and then it kind of died down. We got a little more pessimistic. Then he had a pretty good showing in the preseason. I look at that running back room, and it's Gus Edwards, it's J.K. Dobbins. They're both on the older end for running backs. Well, J.K. Dobbins isn't, but he's dealing with back-to-back Achilles injuries, so his body.
90-year-old.
Yeah, he's. But so I see there is a window there for opportunity, and he is free. You can get Vidal off waivers probably. With the Greg Roman offense, they're going to run it a lot. They may use 3 running backs. We'll see if it happens. He is a total flyer, and he's more of a dynasty guy anyway, but he's a guy that I end up with a lot of.
Yeah, and Kyle Senra on the chat is asking, does Antonio Gibson count as a stash? I think so. I think he's going late enough to be in that group where we're taking a flyer.
How late are we talking? Like running back, 50, 40, how late are we talking?
However late you think it should be. Whatever. No context. Kind of like our nonsense draft.
That was a pretty deep one to start. So,
Julio McLaughlin, he's going at 48 right now. I like him. I don't trust Javonte Williams. He's flashed and he hasn't. Marshawn Lloyd somehow going after him, and I like him more.
Especially with A.J. Dillon done for the year.
Yeah, and he wasn't good anyways.
Well, yeah.
And I would have still took him. But yeah, like him at that point's good. Ray Davis in Buffalo, he could get playing time right now, and he's at 56 right after them. Like there's a lot of good backs in that 40 to 60 range.
Chuba Hubbard at 44, like you can get he'll be RB1 for start the season. He was decent last year.
So much Chuba Hubbard.
Same.
It's gross.
RB26 last year, and you can get him at RB41, and he's going to walk into being RB1 on hopefully an improved offense.
Yeah.
Where does Tyrone Tracy fall? Because he's kind of my guy that I've been stashing everywhere. That backfield isn't very deep either.
Is 55 is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I've seen 58.
When Devin Singletary is your main competition, I think you have a chance to get on the field at some point. He's a pretty athletic guy.
I was in standard scoring, that's why our numbers were different. But 58. Khalil Herbert's down there too, and if you look at like running efficiency last year, he was one of the most efficient backs when he got the ball, and then he kind of had an unlucky injury and fell off after that. I think it was weeks 15 and 16, 17. He really came on, won some leagues for people. So
yeah,
he's a guy to watch in that range also.
Good stuff. A lot of good names there.
I have a ton of Jerome Ford too.
Jerome Ford's another good one.
Just above that at 38. I mean,
he's kind of like Chuba, right? Like he's going to be probably the bell cow for the first couple weeks.
Yeah. And they'll run it off in Cleveland that he'll still get work even with Nick Chubb trying to get healthy.
Yeah, it was Chubb and Kareem Hunt for a long time, and he could just fit right into that role.
Fit right in. Yep, 100%. All right, back to the wheel. All right, this one is from Chris Wetch. I'm not sure how you say his name. Some notable movers on the fantasy points projections as we work through roster cuts. Josh Jacobs jumps from RB16 to RB7. Virtually no depth behind him with Lloyd banged up. And, of course, we just mentioned A.J. Dillon is out for the season. Ryan, I'm going to let you talk about, Jacobs. I know you liked him a lot, but RB7, is that too high for you?
So 7 is the cutoff where things get real murky. I think the highest I'd put him is 8. Like 7's where Kyron Williams going right now in ADP. Take Derrick Henry over him, and probably at the end. But after those two, so running back 9, I'm okay with it. And I'd probably consider him over at the end because he's going to get the ball a lot. Green Bay uses their running backs. They throw their running backs a lot. He's a great pass catcher. He didn't get to do enough for the Raiders, but he could be 70 targets there.
Yeah, especially like you mentioned with Lloyd being banged up and A.J. Dillon not there.
He's a hammer as a red zone threat. He could honestly finish as a top 5 running back, and I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't draft him there, but he could finish there, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yep. What about you, Derek? Where do you fall on Josh Jacobs?
I I'm getting a lot of Josh Jacobs this year, a lot of shares in my portfolio. You look back at that. If you go back and watch the playoff game, the Packers and the Cowboys, Aaron Jones ran all over the Cowboys, and it wasn't even necessarily what Aaron Jones was doing. He had 10-yard holes on almost every play, and that's kind of the genius of Matt LaFleur. He just finds ways to get the ball to his playmakers and have them make plays and give them space to operate. And I think Josh Jacobs is going to fit into that system beautifully. And I could see him easily being a top 5. Health, obviously, notwithstanding, he's got to stay healthy, but I could see him being a top 5 back this year. And he's not being drafted as that. He's being drafted as a high-end RB2 in a lot of leagues that I'm seeing. Guys like A-Chain going ahead of him. Guys like
I would take him over A-Chain every single
yeah,
time.
I mean, same here. And that's why I don't have any A-Chain, is because he's going. I love A-Chain as a player. I just can't take him at his ADP. But yeah, I mean, James Cook's going ahead of him. Pacheco's going ahead of him.
Wow.
I like all these players, but man, Josh Jacobs, he's already done it. Like, he's already been RB1 in fantasy, and he's in a better offense now with virtually no competition. And so he's a guy I'm really in on this year.
Yep, I love Jacobs as well, and I've been getting him in a lot of leagues for the same reason y'all guys mentioned, that he's just going way too late for the chance that he's going to be giving that offense, and especially, with no AJ Dillon. I know we don't like him here on the show, but we don't like him because he steals touchdowns from our starters sometimes. So he won't be there anymore. And Marshawn Lloyd also not going to be there as well, at least, in a full capacity. So yeah, Jacobs' wheels up. RB7, RB8 is probably where he fits. So yeah, I like that a lot. All right. That wraps up the fantasy roulette. Let's do our forgotten fantasy player.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, we had we did it for the first time last week after not doing it for a couple months, and me and Ryan got stumped pretty good. So, Derek, can you stump us 2 weeks in a row? What you got?
All right, I'm going to take you back to 2013. This guy was RB24. The following year, he was RB20, and then he absolutely disappeared. RB60 the next year, RB98 the next year, and then I think he was out of the league.
Wow. 2013 and 14.
13 and 14. I can just keep peppering in hints here. He was a 6th round pick out of Clemson. He was very small. My comp for him today would be like Keaton Mitchell. Like, he was like a little speedy guy, was never like the lead back, but for 2 years he was an RB2. Big play potential. I'll drop the team. That might give it away. Maybe not. Arizona Cardinals.
Ellington.
Andre Ellington.
Andre Ellington. Yes, I remember Andre Ellington, because then he had a brother in the league too, right? I think Bruce Ellington played for the 49ers for a while. Yep.
Wide receiver, I think. They tried to move Ellington to wide receivers like last year with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I remember him having like dual. You play him 2 positions in fantasy at one point.
Yeah, because you're right. He did have the receiver ability. I think I played on Yahoo back then, and he had the dual eligibility in there. So
yeah, great player. I felt like I like hit his breakout in 2013. Like, I distinctly recall him scoring like an 80-yard touchdown that like won my week. So he's a player close to my heart, and he was like a 5'8".
Yeah,
I think he's a tiny little dude.
Was that the year that Adrian Peterson went there, and he was there for? I think that's the year.
Yeah, Peterson or Chris Johnson went there first.
Yeah, you're right. They ran through some old running backs there for a little bit.
2013.
Yeah, it's 13 and 14, and then David Johnson broke out. I think
Rashard Mendenhall was the lead back that year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right.
Mendenhall. Another forgotten fantasy player that we can do.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
I like it.
That's a pretty good one.
Good stuff.
So yeah, Andre Ellington, you got it.
All right. Well, that wraps up the show, gentlemen. We'll go around the room as we usually do. Give us your Twitter handle. Plug what you want to plug. We'll go to you first, Derek.
Yeah, Derek Adam Thomas on Twitter, DEREK. got some stuff hopefully coming out to you guys soon. So make sure you follow, and I'll try to tweet some good takes along with the bad ones.
All right, good stuff. Ryan, what you got going on?
Find me Twitter Fox534. Expect angry or excited Ravens takes on Twitter next week, depending on the thing. Find me over at the Rookie Big Board, the Dynasty Big Board podcast. We did bold takes last night, so look it up. It was a lot of fun, and we got weird.
We got weird. I like it.
It got weird.
All right. As always, guys, follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Check out all of our content over at GoingFor2.com. And if you are not in our Discord, you are missing out. It is all free. We have over 2,000 members in there. We've got over 50 fantasy coaches, as we call them, that will answer your questions. We try to remain as active as possible. If you're looking to join leagues, we have a classified section that people post their leagues they're looking for orphans. So jump in there. We're going to be doing prop bet stuff in there as well once the season starts. So we got all kinds of stuff planned. You can find the link on GoingFor2.com. You can find it in my Twitter profile. You can find it all over the place. Anywhere GoingFor2 is, you can find the link to the Discord. And again, it is 100% free, and I plan to keep it that way. So jump in there and join us. All right, gentlemen. That is the show. Thank you, Derek, for coming on. Derek, not Derek, as he is known on Discord. Derek.
I thought you just called him D. Eric, and I got real confused. He's got a weird accent.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right. For Ryan, for Derek, I'm Jeff. We'll see y'all next week.